Document. Part 1. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly. A silent and cold canvas dotted with distant stars. It was a place where silence reigned supreme, broken only by the hum of engines or the crackle of communication systems. In this quiet expanse, something extraordinary happened. Without warning, a massive object appeared near the edge of the Krylos Dominion's territory. The object was unmistakably a warship, its sleek design and imposing structure immediately catching the attention of every sensor array in the area. But what made it truly remarkable was that it wasn't one of the Krylos ships. It belonged to humans. The ship, known as the SS Vanguard, seemed to materialize out of thin air. Its sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the Dominion's command centers. Alarms blared across military stations, and officers scrambled to understand how such a large vessel could bypass their advanced detection systems. The Dominion prided itself on its technological superiority, yet here was a human ship ancient, but clearly advanced sitting quietly in their territory, as if it had always been there. On board the Vanguard, Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, his sharp blue eyes scanning the monitors before him. He was a tall man with a calm demeanor, the kind of leader who inspired confidence even in the most uncertain situations. His uniform was crisp, and his expression was steady, though his mind raced with questions. How had they arrived here? Where exactly was here? And why were they surrounded by alien ships? Beside him stood Lieutenant Samantha Brooks, the tactical officer. She was shorter than Ryan, with dark hair tied neatly into a bun, and an intense focus that never wavered. Her fingers moved swiftly over her console, analyzing the readings. "Captain," she said, her voice firm but controlled, "we're being scanned by multiple sources. They're trying to figure out what we are." Ryan nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the main viewport. Outside, the blackness of space was interrupted by the faint glow of nearby planets and the occasional streak of light from passing vessels. "Let them scan," he replied calmly. "We have nothing to hide." Yet he turned to Dr. Alan Fields, the ship's chief scientist, who was hunched over another set of monitors. "Alan, any idea where we are?" Dr. Fields adjusted his glasses, his face lined with worry. He was older than the others, with graying hair and a slightly stooped posture. "I'm still running calculations," he admitted, typing furiously, "but based on the star patterns and gravitational readings, I'd say we're far outside our galaxy, possibly in the Andromeda system." He paused, looking up at Ryan. "And judging by the activity around us, we're not alone." As if to confirm his words, several smaller ships emerged from the darkness surrounding the Vanguard. They were sleek and angular, painted in metallic hues that shimmered faintly under the starlight. Their movements were deliberate, almost predatory, as they positioned themselves around the human vessel. Back on the bridge, the tension grew palpable. Ensign Daniel Ross, a young engineer fresh out of training, shifted nervously in his seat. "Are they going to attack us?" he asked, his voice tinged with fear. "No," Ryan said firmly, though he couldn't entirely dismiss the possibility. "Not yet, anyway. Let's see what they do next." He activated the ship's communication system, addressing the unknown vessels. "This is Captain Ryan Carter of the SS Vanguard. We mean no harm. We request peaceful contact." For a moment, there was no response. Then, a voice crackled through the speakers, deep and guttural, speaking in a language none of the crew recognized. "Ambassador Laura Ales." A diplomat stationed aboard the Vanguard stepped forward. She was a middle-aged woman with warm brown eyes and a reassuring presence. "It's Krylos," she said after listening intently. "They're asking for identification and purpose." Laura leaned closer to the microphone, her tone measured and diplomatic. "To the Krylos Dominion, we extend greetings from Earth. Our arrival is unintentional, and we seek only to establish communication and ensure mutual understanding." There was another pause, longer this time, Before the reply came, the voice sounded skeptical, but willing to hear more. Meanwhile, the situation inside the Dominion was spiraling into chaos. Emperor Kilron IV sat on his throne, his golden armor glinting under the artificial lights of the Imperial Palace. His advisors crowded around him, arguing loudly about the mysterious human ship. Some called for immediate destruction, while others urged caution. "They must be spies," shouted General Torek, a burly man with scars etched into his face. "If we let them go unpunished, they'll report back to their empire and bring reinforcements." Kilron raised a hand, silencing the room. His piercing yellow eyes narrowed as he considered the options. "We don't know enough about them yet," he said finally. "Send scouts to gather information. If they pose a threat, we'll deal with them accordingly. Until then, hold your fire." Back on the Vanguard, the crew braced themselves for whatever might come next. Samantha monitored the enemy ships closely, noting their positions and weapons readiness. "They're holding position," she reported. "No signs of hostility for now." "Good," Ryan said, though he remained vigilant. "Keep me updated on any changes, and prepare the crew for anything." Dr. Fields continued his analysis, piecing together fragments of data from the ship's archives. What he found was both fascinating and alarming. The Vanguard had been part of a top-secret project centuries ago, designed to test an experimental jump drive capable of traveling unimaginable distances. Something had gone wrong during the trial, causing the ship to disappear entirely. Now, it seemed, the drive had malfunctioned again, bringing them here. "This doesn't make sense," Dr. Fields muttered to himself. "We shouldn't even exist anymore. By all accounts, this ship should have been lost forever." Ryan approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Focus on what we can control, Alan. Right now, we need answers and allies if possible." As the hours passed, the standoff continued. The Krylos ships maintained their positions, neither advancing nor retreating. On board the Vanguard, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for any scenario. Laura drafted potential messages, hoping to ease tensions. Samantha ran simulations, planning countermeasures in case of an attack. Even Ensign Ross pitched in, assisting with repairs to the damaged sections of the hull caused by the jump. Despite the uncertainty, there was a sense of unity among the crew. They were strangers in a strange land, facing an unknown enemy, but they trusted each other to get through it. Ryan watched them work, pride swelling in his chest. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they would face it together. Outside, the stars twinkled, silently, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. For now, the Vanguard remained a mystery, a ghost from another time and place. But soon, its presence would ripple through the galaxy, changing everything. Document. Part 2. The silence on the bridge of the SS Vanguard was thick, broken only by the soft hum of instruments and the occasional murmur of voices. The crew waited anxiously for the Krylos Dominion's next move. Outside, the alien ships maintained their positions, their sleek forms shimmering faintly in the starlight. It was clear that the Krylos were studying the human vessel, trying to determine whether it posed a threat or held some other purpose. Captain Ryan Carter stood near the main viewport, his arms crossed as he observed the scene. His gaze shifted between the alien ships and the monitors displaying data streams. He trusted his crew to handle their tasks efficiently, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a tightrope. One wrong step could lead to disaster. "Lieutenant Brooks," he said, turning to Samantha, "what's the status of those ships?" Samantha glanced at her console, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. "They're holding steady, Captain. No aggressive maneuvers yet, but they've deployed drones. Looks like they're scanning us more thoroughly now." Ryan nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Good. Let them look. We've got nothing to hide." He turned to Ambassador Laura Hayes, who stood nearby with a tablet in hand. "Laura, how are the translations coming along?" Laura adjusted her glasses, her eyes flicking across the screen. It's slow going, Captain. Their language is complex, and their syntax doesn't match anything we've encountered before, but I think I can piece together basic messages, if needed. That'll have to do for now, Ryan replied. We need to keep communication open, even if it's limited. If we can show them we're not here to fight, maybe we can avoid conflict altogether. As the hours passed, the tension aboard the Vanguard began to ease slightly. The Krylos ships showed no signs of hostility, though their presence was still intimidating. Dr. Alan Fields worked tirelessly in the science lab, analyzing the data from the ship's archives. He had discovered fragments of information about the experimental jump drive that brought them here, but much of it remained fragmented and incomplete. This technology is centuries ahead of its time, he muttered to himself, rubbing his temples. I just wish I could figure out why it malfunctioned again, after all these years. Ensign Daniel Ross approached him cautiously, holding a diagnostic tool. Do you need help with anything, Doctor? He asked, his voice tinged with nervousness. Despite his youth, Daniel was eager to prove himself, especially in such a high-stakes situation. Dr. Fields looked up and managed a small smile. Actually, yes. Run another sweep of the energy signatures we picked up during the jump. There might be something there that can explain what happened. Daniel nodded enthusiastically and set to work, grateful for the opportunity to contribute. As he focused on the task, his mind wandered briefly to the alien ships outside. What did the Krylos want? Were they truly interested in peaceful contact, or was this just a prelude to an attack? Meanwhile, aboard one of the Krylos scout ships, Commander Valen reviewed the scans of the Vanguard. He was a tall, imposing figure with sharp features and piercing green eyes. His uniform bore the insignia of the Dominion's elite forces, marking him as someone not to be trifled with. Around him, his subordinates bustled about, relaying information and preparing reports for Emperor Kilron IV. The ship appears to be ancient, Valen said, addressing his second-in-command, a woman named Tira. Its design suggests it belongs to a civilization far older than ours, yet its systems are advanced, far beyond what we've seen from other species. Tira nodded, her expression grim. Could it be a trap, sir? Perhaps they're testing our defenses. It's possible, Valen admitted. But if it is, they're taking a significant risk. This ship is isolated, with no reinforcements in sight. They must know we could overpower them easily if we chose to. Back at the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kilran IV listened intently as his advisors debated the situation. The throne room buzzed with activity, the air heavy with tension. Some argued for immediate action, while others urged restraint. General Torak, ever the hawkish voice, slammed his fist on the table. Enough talk, he bellowed. We should strike now, before they have a chance to regroup or call for backup. Kilran raised a hand, silencing the room once more. Patience, General, he said coolly. We don't know enough about them yet. Attacking blindly could provoke a war we're not prepared for. But Your Majesty, Torak countered, his voice dripping with frustration. If we wait too long, they may discover weaknesses in our defenses. We cannot afford to let them gain the upper hand. Before Kilron could respond, a messenger entered the room, bowing deeply. Your Majesty, we've received additional intel from Commander Valen. He reports that the human ship has attempted to establish communication. Kilran leaned forward, his interest piqued. What did they say? They claim to come in peace, the messenger replied. Their leader, a man named Ryan Carter, insists their arrival was unintentional and requests dialogue. A murmur rippled through the room. Some advisors scoffed at the notion of peaceful intentions, while others saw it as an opportunity to learn more about the mysterious humans. Kilran stroked his chin thoughtfully, weighing the options. Finally, he spoke. Send a delegation to meet with them. If they truly seek peace, we will hear them out. But make no mistake, If they betray us, they will face the full might of the Dominion. On board the Vanguard, the crew prepared for the arrival of the Krylos delegation. Laura Hayes reviewed her notes, ensuring she had all the necessary phrases translated. Samantha double-checked the ship's defenses, just in case. Ryan gathered the senior officers in the briefing room to discuss protocol. We don't know what to expect, Ryan began, addressing the group. These people are strangers to us, and we're strangers to them. Our goal is to establish trust, but we must remain cautious. Lieutenant Brooks, I want you monitoring everything during the meeting. Dr. Fields, stay close in case they ask technical questions. Laura, you'll handle the negotiations. Everyone nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. As they dispersed to their stations, Ryan took a moment to reflect. He knew the stakes were high. If they succeeded in building rapport with the Krylos, it could pave the way for cooperation, or at least mutual non-aggression. But failure could mean disaster. When the Krylos delegation arrived, they did so in a small shuttle that docked seamlessly. With the Vanguard, the visitors stepped onto the human ship cautiously, their movements deliberate and measured. They were taller than humans, with elongated limbs and smooth, metallic skin that gleamed under the lights. Their faces were angular, with large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to take in every detail. Commander Valen led the group, flanked by Tira and 2 armed guards. They wore uniforms adorned with intricate patterns, symbols of their rank and allegiance. Valen's demeanor was calm, but alert, his gaze sweeping the room as he assessed the surroundings. Ryan greeted them warmly, extending a hand in a gesture of goodwill. Welcome aboard the SS Vanguard. I'm Captain Ryan Carter. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Valen hesitated briefly before shaking Ryan's hand. I am Commander Valen, acting on behalf of Emperor Kilron IV. We have many questions about your presence here. Of course, Ryan replied, gesturing toward the conference table. Please, sit. We're happy to answer whatever you'd like to know. The meeting began tentatively, with both sides exchanging formalities and probing for information. Laura handled the translations, her voice steady as she conveyed messages back and forth. Dr. Fields provided explanations about the Vanguard's origins, carefully omitting details about the experimental jump drive. Samantha kept a close eye on the monitors, ensuring the Krylos didn't attempt any covert actions. For their part, the Krylos delegation appeared genuinely curious, though wary. Valen asked pointed questions about Earth and humanity's capabilities, clearly trying to gauge whether the humans posed a threat. Ryan answered diplomatically, emphasizing their peaceful intentions while avoiding specifics that might reveal vulnerabilities. As the discussion progressed, a fragile sense of understanding began to form. Both sides recognized the potential benefits of cooperation, though deep-seated mistrust lingered beneath the surface. For now, however, the meeting ended on a cautiously optimistic note, with promises to continue dialogue in the future. Back on the bridge, the crew exhaled collectively, relieved that the encounter had gone smoothly. Ryan allowed himself a small smile, knowing they had taken the first step toward bridging the gap between 2 vastly different civilizations. But he also knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. The Krylos were unpredictable, and their empire was vast and complex. Only time would tell whether peace was truly within reach or merely an illusion. Outside, the stars twinkled silently, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. For now, the Vanguard remained a symbol of hope, a beacon of possibility in a galaxy filled with uncertainty. Document Part 3. The meeting between the humans and the Krylos delegation had ended, but its effects lingered like ripples in a pond. On board the SS Vanguard, the crew worked to process what they had learned while preparing for whatever might come next. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared out at the alien ships still hovering nearby. Their presence was a constant reminder of the delicate situation they were in. Dr. Alan Fields sat in the science lab, surrounded by data streams and holographic displays. He had spent hours poring over the fragments of information recovered from the Vanguard's archives, piecing together clues about the experimental jump drive that had brought them here. His face was lined with frustration as he muttered to himself. "This doesn't add up," he said aloud, tapping furiously on his console. The drive shouldn't have reactivated after all this time. Something triggered it, but what? And Daniel Ross approached him cautiously, carrying a tablet filled with energy readings. "Doctor, I've finished analyzing the energy signatures from when we arrived. There's something unusual here, patterns that don't match anything we've seen before." Dr. Fields glanced at the tablet, his eyes widening slightly. "Let me see that." He studied the readings closely, his brow furrowing. "These fluctuations, they're not random. It's almost like an external force interacted with our systems, pulling us through space and time." Daniel frowned, trying to make sense of the explanation. "You mean someone or something brought us here on purpose?" "It's possible," Dr. Fields replied thoughtfully. "But if that's true, we need to figure out who or what is responsible, and why." Meanwhile, Ambassador Laura Hayes reviewed recordings of the meeting with the Krylos delegation. She replayed key moments, listening intently to their tone and choice of words. Though she couldn't fully understand their language without relying on translations, certain nuances stood out to her. "They're hiding something," she murmured to herself, jotting down notes. Their questions about Earth were too vague, too general. They already know more than they're letting on. "Lieutenant." Samantha Brooks monitored the Krylos ships, her sharp eyes scanning the screens for any changes in behavior. So far, the alien vessels remained stationary, but she noticed subtle shifts in their positioning. "Captain," she called out, her voice steady but urgent. "They're rerouting power to their weapons systems." Ryan turned sharply, his calm demeanor giving way to concern. "Are they preparing to attack?" "Not yet," Samantha replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "It could just be a precaution or a show of force. But we should stay ready." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. If the Krylos decided to strike, the Vanguard would be outnumbered and outgunned. Their only advantage was the element of surprise. Even that was uncertain. "Keep me updated," he instructed, "and alert the crew to stand by." As tensions mounted aboard the Vanguard, events within the Krylos Dominion took a darker turn. Emperor Kilrin IV convened another meeting with his advisors, this time in private chambers away from prying eyes. The atmosphere was tense, with General Torak pacing angrily while others exchanged uneasy glances. "We cannot trust them," Torak growled, slamming his fist onto the table. "Their so-called peaceful intentions are a ploy to buy time. They're gathering intelligence, waiting for reinforcements." Kilrin raised a hand, silencing the room. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried authority. "Enough, General. We must consider all possibilities. If these humans pose no threat, attacking them would be unwise. But if they do," he trailed off, leaving the implication hanging in the air. One of his advisors, a wiry man named Kale, leaned forward. "Your Majesty, there is another matter to consider. Our scans detected strange energy readings emanating from their ship. Readings unlike anything we've encountered before." Kilrin's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Kale hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It's possible their vessel contains advanced technology, perhaps even weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. If we can acquire such technology." Torek smirked, catching on quickly. "Then we'd have the upper hand against our enemies, including the Vorthok Empire." Kilrun stroked his chin thoughtfully, weighing the risks and rewards. Commander Valen reported that their leader seemed sincere in seeking peace, but sincerity does not guarantee safety. Prepare a covert team to infiltrate their ship and retrieve whatever secrets they're hiding. Back aboard the Vanguard, the crew remained unaware of the Emperor's plans. Laura shared her observations with Ryan, emphasizing the need for caution. "They're testing us, Captain," she said firmly. "Every question they asked was designed to gauge our weaknesses. We need to tread carefully." Ryan nodded, his expression grim. "Agreed. Until we know more, assume nothing is safe." That evening, as the crew settled into their routines, Ensign Daniel Ross found himself unable to sleep. He wandered to the observation deck, where he often went to clear his head. The vastness of space stretched before him, dotted with distant stars and glowing nebulae. It was beautiful, yet daunting, a reminder of how small and vulnerable they truly were. As he gazed out at the void, he noticed something unusual. A faint pulse of light flickered near one of the Krylos ships, barely visible against the backdrop of stars. At first, he thought it might be a reflection or a glitch in the viewport. But then it happened again, this time closer to the Vanguard. His heart began to race as he realized what he was seeing. Cloaked drones, moving stealthily toward the human ship. Without hesitation, Daniel rushed to the nearest communication panel. "Bridge, this is Ensign Ross. We've got incoming objects." Drones approaching the ship. On the bridge, alarms blared as Samantha confirmed the sighting. "Captain, multiple contacts closing in fast. They're attempting to board us." Ryan sprang into action, barking orders with precision. "Seal all hatches and activate internal defenses. Lieutenant Brooks, target those drones and disable them if you can. Everyone else, prepare for intruders." The crew scrambled to their stations, adrenaline coursing through their veins. In the science lab, Dr. Fields secured sensitive equipment while grabbing a handheld scanner. Laura joined him, clutching a tablet filled with critical data. "We can't let them get their hands on this," she said firmly. Outside, the cloaked drones reached the hull of the Vanguard, attaching themselves silently. Moments later, small teams of Krylos operatives breached the ship, their movements swift and methodical. They wore sleek armor equipped with cloaking devices, making them nearly invisible to the naked eye. Samantha tracked their positions using thermal sensors, directing security teams to intercept them. "They're heading for engineering and the science lab," she reported. "Looks like they're after our tech." Ryan clenched his jaw, realizing the gravity of the situation. "We can't let them succeed. Lock down those areas and hold them off." In the science lab, Dr. Fields and Laura worked frantically to erase sensitive data from their systems. As they did, the door hissed open, revealing to Krylos operatives stepping inside. Their weapons were drawn, their glowing eyes scanning. "The room, stay back," Dr. Fields shouted, holding up the handheld scanner defensively. Laura stepped in front of him, her voice steady, despite the fear in her eyes. "You won't take this ship without a fight." The operatives hesitated, briefly, unsure how to handle the unexpected resistance. Before they could react, a squad of human security personnel burst into the room, led by Ensign Ross. Weapons fired, filling the air with bursts of light and sound. The skirmish was brief but intense, ending with the Krylos operatives retreating back toward their entry points. Across the ship, similar battles erupted as the crew fought to repel the invaders. Samantha coordinated the defense efforts from the bridge, her focus unwavering. "Engineering is secure," she announced. "Science lab is holding. They're falling back." Ryan exhaled sharply, relief washing over him. "Good work, everyone." "Damage report. Minor breaches in sections 3 and 5, Samantha replied. "No casualties, but we'll need to repair the hull." As the dust settled, the Krylos ships withdrew slightly, maintaining a safe distance. Back aboard the Vanguard, the crew regrouped, their spirits buoyed by their successful defense. Ryan addressed them over the intercom, his voice filled with pride. "Today, we proved that we're stronger together. No matter what comes next, we'll face it as one crew, one family." Unbeknownst to them, Emperor Kilron IV watched the failed operation unfold with growing unease. His advisors argued heatedly. some calling for immediate retaliation, while others urged patience. Kilran listened silently, his mind working through the implications. The humans had proven resourceful and resilient qualities that made them both dangerous and intriguing. For now, the standoff continued, with neither side willing to back down. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see whether peace or war would prevail. Outside, the stars twinkled silently, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. For the crew of the Vanguard, the journey was far from over, but they had taken another step toward survival in a hostile universe. V. Document. Part 4. The aftermath of the failed infiltration attempt left both the crew of the *SS Vanguard* and the Krylos Dominion in a state of heightened tension. On board the human warship, repairs were underway to fix the damage caused by the cloaked drones. The atmosphere was somber but determined, as the crew worked tirelessly to ensure their ship was ready for another attack. Captain Ryan Carter moved through the corridors, checking on his team and offering words of encouragement. Though he remained outwardly calm, his mind raced with questions. Why had the Krylos risked such a bold move? And what did they hope to gain? In the science lab, Dr. Alan Field sat hunched over his console, reviewing data from the skirmish. His glasses were slightly askew, and his face bore the signs of exhaustion. Ensign Daniel Ross stood nearby, holding a tablet filled with security footage of the intruders. "Doctor," Daniel said hesitantly, "I've been analyzing their movements. They weren't just after random tech. They went straight for the areas where we store critical systems and archives." Dr. Fields nodded slowly, his expression grim. "It confirms what I've suspected. They're after the secrets of this ship and, possibly, the jump drive itself." Laura Hayes entered the lab, her steps brisk but measured. She carried a data filled with notes from the earlier meeting with the Krylos delegation. "Captain Carter wants us to prepare a full report," she said, glancing at the two men. "He's planning to address the Krylos leadership directly about this incident." Daniel frowned, his voice tinged with frustration. "Do you think they'll admit to sending those operatives? It's clear they don't trust us." "They may deny it outright," Laura replied, her tone thoughtful. "But that doesn't mean we can't use this to our advantage. If we confront them openly, we might force their hand, make them reveal more than they intended." Meanwhile, aboard the Krylos command ship, General Torak paced furiously, his scarred face twisted with anger. The failure of the covert operation had infuriated him, and he wasted no time laying blame. "This is your fault," he snarled at Commander Valen, who stood calmly before him. "You assured me the humans were weak and unprepared. Instead, they repelled our forces without breaking a sweat." Valen met the general's glare with unwavering composure. "The humans are not ordinary opponents," he replied evenly. "Their technology is advanced, and their crew is highly trained. Underestimating them will only lead to further failures." Torak clenched his fists, his voice rising. "Enough excuses. We should strike now, before they have a chance to recover. A full-scale assault will crush them once and for all." Before Valen could respond, Emperor Kilran IV entered the room, his golden armor gleaming under the artificial lights. His presence immediately silenced the argument, and both men turned to face him. Kilran's piercing yellow eyes scanned the room, taking in the tension between his subordinates. "Report," he commanded, his voice sharp. Valen stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, the mission to retrieve intelligence from the human ship ended in failure. Their defenses proved stronger than anticipated, and our operatives were forced to retreat." Kilran's expression darkened, but he didn't lash out. Instead, he turned to Torak. "General, do you still believe an immediate attack is wise?" Torak hesitated, his confidence wavering under the Emperor's gaze. "Yes, Your Majesty. Delaying only gives them time to fortify their position. If we act now, we can destroy them before they become a greater threat." Kilran considered this, his fingers drumming lightly against his armrest. Finally, he shook his head. No, attacking blindly would be reckless. These humans are unpredictable, and their technology may hold dangers we cannot foresee. For now, we maintain our position and gather more intelligence. Torak clenched his jaw, clearly unhappy with the decision, but he knew better than to argue. Further, as Kilrin dismissed the group, he signaled for Valen to stay behind. Once they were alone, the Emperor leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Commander, I want you to monitor the situation closely. If the humans make another move or, if General Torak acts without my approval, you must intervene." Valen bowed deeply. "As you command, Your Majesty." Back aboard the Vanguard, preparations were underway for Captain Carter's message to the Krylos leadership. Ryan stood in the communications room, flanked by Laura and Samantha. The screen displayed the emblem of the Krylos Dominion, awaiting a response to their request for dialogue. When the connection finally established, Emperor Kilron IV appeared, his regal bearing commanding attention. "Captain Carter," Kilren began, his deep voice resonating through the speakers. "You wish to speak with me?" Ryan nodded, his expression serious, but composed. "Emperor Kilron, I won't waste time with formalities. We know your forces attempted to infiltrate our ship last night. Such actions undermine any chance of peaceful coexistence." Kilrin's eyes narrowed slightly, but he remained impassive. "I assure you, Captain, I had no knowledge of such an operation. Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding." Ryan exchanged a glance with Laura, who subtly shook her head. He knew Kilrin was lying, but calling him out directly would only escalate tensions. "Be that as it may," Ryan continued, "we cannot ignore what happened. If you truly seek peace, then prove it by ensuring such incidents do not occur again." Kilrin studied Ryan for a moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he inclined his head slightly. "Very well, Captain. You have my word that no further hostile actions will be taken at least not by my direct order." Though far from reassured, Ryan accepted the statement for now. "Thank you, Emperor. Let us focus on finding common ground moving forward." As the transmission ended, Laura let out a slow breath. "That was less confrontational than I expected." "He's buying time," Ryan said firmly. "For what? I'm not sure. But we need to stay vigilant." Over the next few days, the standoff persisted, with neither side making significant moves. However, within the Krylos Dominion, discontent simmered. General Torak grew increasingly frustrated with Kilrin's cautious approach, believing it weakened the Empire's standing. He began secretly rallying support among military officers and influential nobles, plotting to seize control of the throne. Princess Lyra, Kilrin's daughter, noticed the growing unrest and became deeply troubled. Unlike her father, who ruled with calculated pragmatism, Lyra believed in diplomacy and cooperation. She had always opposed the Empire's aggressive expansionist policies, and the arrival of the humans had reignited her hope for change. Determined to prevent further bloodshed, she sought out Commander Valen, whom she trusted implicitly. Commander Lyra said urgently as they met in a secluded garden, "You must convince my father to reconsider his stance. War with these humans serves no purpose. It will only bring destruction." Valen listened carefully, his respect for the princess evident. "Your Highness, I share your concerns, but the Emperor values stability above all else. Convincing him to pursue peace requires more than words." Lyra nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Then perhaps we need to show him a different path. If the humans are willing to negotiate, we must find a way to facilitate it." Unbeknownst to either of them, Torak's coup plans were nearing fruition. With key allies secured, he prepared to strike during a ceremonial gathering meant to honor the Empire's military achievements. As the event approached, whispers of rebellion spread through the palace halls, reaching even Princess Lyra's ears. Realizing the danger, Lyra made a daring decision. She contacted the Vanguard through a secure channel, requesting asylum aboard their ship. Her message was brief, but urgent. If you value peace, protect me. My life may depend on it. When the message reached Ryan, he convened an emergency meeting with his senior officers. We have a choice to make, he said gravely. Protecting Princess Lyra could earn us a powerful ally, but it also risks provoking the entire Krylos Dominion against us. Samantha spoke up first. Captain, if she's genuine, she could help broker peace. But if this is a trap, it's a risk we'll have to take, Ryan interrupted, his tone decisive. Prepare to receive her, and stay ready for anything. As the princess boarded the Vanguard, her presence created waves among the crew. Some viewed her with suspicion, while others saw her as a symbol of hope. Ryan greeted her personally, offering reassurance. You're safe here, Your Highness. But tell me why, have you come to us? Lyra looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. Because I believe in a future where humans and Krylos can coexist. Together, we can stop the madness before it consumes us all. Outside, the stars twinkled silently, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. For the crew of the Vanguard, the stakes had never been higher. With Princess Lyra now part of their mission, the path forward was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the fate of two civilizations rested in their hands. Document, Part 5, the presence of Princess Lyra aboard the SS Vanguard brought a new dynamic to the already tense situation. Her arrival was both a blessing and a burden for Captain Ryan Carter and his crew. While her insights into the Krylos Dominion offered a potential path toward peace, her defection also made them a target for retaliation. The crew worked tirelessly to ensure her safety, knowing that her life and their mission depended on it. On the bridge, Ryan stood near the main viewport, gazing at the distant glow of the Krylos homeworld. His mind raced with possibilities. Could they really trust Lyra? Was she truly seeking peace, or was this some elaborate scheme orchestrated by her father? He turned to Lieutenant Samantha Brooks, who was monitoring the surrounding alien ships. Any changes in their behavior? He asked, his voice steady but cautious. Samantha shook her head, her fingers moving deftly over her console. Not yet, Captain. They're holding position, but I've detected increased communications traffic. Something's brewing. Ryan nodded, his expression thoughtful. Keep an eye on it. If they make a move, we need to be ready. In the science lab, Dr. Alan Fields and Ensign Daniel Ross worked alongside Princess Lyra, analyzing data from the Krylos systems. Lyra proved to be highly knowledgeable about her people's technology, providing valuable insights that helped the humans better understand their adversaries. Their energy signatures are unique, she explained, pointing to a holographic display. If you can disrupt these frequencies, you might disable their weapons temporarily. Dr. Fields adjusted his glasses, intrigued by her expertise. That's useful information, Your Highness. But how do we know which frequencies to target? Lyra hesitated briefly before responding. I've memorized key patterns from their central database. With your help, we can map them out and create countermeasures. Daniel watched her closely, still unsure whether to trust her fully. Why are you helping us? He asked bluntly. You're risking everything, your family, your empire, for strangers. Lyra met his gaze, her eyes filled with resolve. Because I believe in a future where war isn't the only answer. My father and General Torak see strength and domination, but I see weakness and fear. If we don't stop them now, countless lives will be lost, not just human, but Krylos as well. Her words struck a chord with Daniel, who nodded slowly. Okay, he said quietly. Let's get to work. Meanwhile, Ambassador Laura Hayes focused on building rapport with Lyra, hoping to strengthen their alliance. She found the princess to be intelligent and compassionate, qualities that inspired hope amidst the chaos. Over meals in the mess hall, They discussed strategies for brokering peace. Your father seems torn between caution and aggression, Laura observed. Do you think he'd listen if we presented him with a clear alternative? Lyra sighed, stirring her drink absently. My father values stability above all else. If we can show him that cooperation is safer than conflict, he might reconsider. But General Torek, he's another matter entirely. His thirst for power blinds him to reason. Laura leaned forward, her tone earnest. Everything hinges on timing. We need to act before Torek gains too much influence. Back within the Krylos Dominion, tensions were reaching a boiling point. General Torek had gathered enough support to execute his coup plan, and the ceremonial gathering provided the perfect opportunity. As dignitaries and military leaders assembled in the Grand Hall, Torek positioned his loyalists strategically, ensuring control over key exits and communication lines. Emperor Kilran IV entered the room, flanked by his personal guards. His golden armor gleamed under the chandeliers, but his expression was wary. He sensed unease among his advisors, though he couldn't pinpoint the source. When Torek approached him, the general's demeanor was calm but smug. Your Majesty, Torek began, bowing slightly. Tonight marks a turning point for our empire. Will you lead us into greatness or let hesitation weaken us? Kilran studied him carefully, his sharp eyes narrowing. Speak plainly, General. What are you implying? Before Torek could respond, alarms blared throughout the palace. Reports flooded in of rebel forces seizing control of critical facilities. Chaos erupted as Torek's men moved swiftly, neutralizing opposition and securing the hall. Kilran's guards drew their weapons, but they were outnumbered. Within moments, the Emperor was surrounded, his fate uncertain. Princess Lyra, watching events unfold via a secure feed aboard the Vanguard, clenched her fists in frustration. We have to act now, she urged Ryan. If Torek succeeds, there will be no hope for peace. Ryan exchanged a glance with Samantha and Laura, weighing the risks. Finally, he turned to Lyra. What do you propose? Lyra's voice was firm. Reach out to Commander Valen. He's loyal to my father and distrusts Torek. If we can convince him to intervene, he might be able to restore order. Ryan nodded, making a quick decision. Ambassador Hayes, prepare a message to Valen. Make it clear that we support Emperor Kilran and oppose Torek's coup. Lieutenant Brooks, monitor their response closely. As the message was transmitted, Commander Valen received it aboard his command ship. His face darkened as he read the details, realizing the gravity of the situation. Though skeptical of the humans, he trusted Lyra implicitly. After consulting with his officers, he made a bold decision. Set course for the Imperial Palace, he ordered. We must protect the Emperor at any cost. Back aboard the Vanguard, the crew braced themselves for the fallout. Samantha tracked Valen's fleet as it moved toward the palace, noting signs of skirmishes breaking out between Loyalist and rebel forces. Captain, it's happening, she reported. Valen's engaging Torek's forces. Ryan exhaled sharply, gripping the edge of the console. Stay sharp, everyone. This could go either way. The battle raged across the Krylos capital, with explosions lighting up the night sky. Valen's forces fought valiantly, pushing back against Torek's rebels. Inside the palace, Kilran remained defiant, despite being held captive. When Valen's troops breached the hall, Torek realized his plan was unraveling. In a last-ditch effort, he confronted the Emperor directly, his weapon drawn. You're finished, old man, Torek snarled, stepping closer. But before he could act, Valen intervened, disarming him with precision. Enough, General Valen commanded, his voice cold. Your rebellion ends here. With Torek subdued and his forces retreating, order began to stabilize. Kilran, shaken but alive, addressed his people through a public broadcast. The traitor Torek sought to divide us, he declared, his tone resolute. but unity prevails. Together, we will rebuild and forge a brighter future. Aboard the Vanguard, the crew listened to the speech with mixed emotions. While relieved that the immediate threat had passed, they knew the road ahead would remain fraught with challenges. Ryan turned to Lyra, offering a small smile. "You played a big part in this, Your Highness. Thank you." Lyra returned the smile, though her eyes reflected lingering uncertainty. "The hardest part is yet to come. Convincing my people and yours that peace is possible won't be easy." Ryan nodded, his expression determined. "Then we'll take it one step at a time, together." Outside, the stars twinkled silently, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. For the crew of the Vanguard, the journey was far from over, but they had taken another step toward bridging the gap between two vastly different civilizations.